Hello and welcome! My name's Heather, I'm a Registered Professional Counsellor, and we're gonna watch Love is Blind Season 2.
So this is my fiance, Kyle.
Why do you want to get married to my sister?
So no one else gets you?
Ooh. So that's probably not the best answer. I'm not sure if it's just because he's nervous, he seems nervous, and he was just trying to play it off as a joke. But if it is true, which I kind of don't really think there's much truth to that, but if there is some truth to that, then essentially what he's saying is that the reason why he proposed to Shaina is because he thought of it as like a game or a competition, and that he proposed to her because he didn't want anyone else to win her. So again, maybe he's just a little bit nervous and he's just trying to joke around. It just seems that everyone in Shaina's family looks really serious, so maybe that's why he's just trying to lighten the mood.
Communication is not her strong suit.
That's Shaina. Get used to it.
It seems like the family also agrees that Shaina doesn't have great communication skills. Again, what does that mean, or what does that look like? Does it mean that she just doesn't communicate? Does it mean that she kind of drops off the face of the earth sometimes and she doesn't tell people what she's thinking or what she's planning on doing? It seems that everyone is in consensus about that. So I'm wondering if Shaina could use that as feedback to realize like, oh, I could definitely improve on my communication skills because I have multiple people who I care about and who know me telling me that my communication skills aren't great. Maybe this is something I should look at. Or not, I mean, her decision, but it could be an opportunity of growth if she decides to see it that way.
Yeah, do you believe in, Christ?
Oh, no, I don't.
Are you open to it?
Yeah,
Are
I
you
mean, we've
closed?
talked about it so much lately.
No, they didn't.
And how much
Not really.
Shaina grew up with it. I never put much thought into it.
I just don't think Kyle's the one for her. I would not be able to give Shaina my blessing.
So what does it really mean to give someone their blessing? I guess it's just to show them that they approve of the wedding or the marriage. It would be concerning if the blessing means permission. If that's the case, I mean, Shaina is a grown woman. She can make her own decisions. I think that she also realizes deep down that it's not going to work because there's a difference in their faiths, and that's fine. But what can be a little bit concerning is her enmeshment with the family system. They all seem like a very close-knit family. It seems like they're very committed in their faith, and maybe that brings them together as well. But it can also lead to a lack of differentiation, which I've mentioned before, because now you're completely relying on your family to help make decisions for you instead of you being able to come to terms with it yourself. It's totally fine if you want the advice or suggestions from trusted family members, but it's another thing when you rely on them to make the decisions for you as an adult. When we're younger, we rely on our parents to make decisions for us because we're too young and for them to protect us and take care of us. But when we grow up, there needs to be a period where the parents need to give the kids some leeway so they can learn to make decisions for themselves. And again, people make mistakes. That's totally fine. You can't prevent your child or prevent someone from making any mistake because that's how they learn and that's how they grow. But when you keep taking away opportunities for them to learn from their mistakes or make those decisions themselves, usually when they're in their teenage years, then essentially you're robbing them the ability to have the sense of self and to be individualized. So when they grow up, they're still relying on the advice from the family. They're wanting advice from their friends, or they rely on their partner completely to make decisions for them, or they feel very lost, or they're easily swayed by what other people say or their own thoughts and their opinions. Again, it's fine if you want other people's advice or suggestions, but it's a fine line between asking for advice and suggestions and still being able to make your own decision, and asking for someone's advice and decisions and just going with that. When we start listening to the voices of other people and we don't really listen to ourselves because we're incapable of listening to ourselves and what it is we want, later on what can happen is we realize, oh, this isn't the life I wanted. How did I get here? What happened is you were listening to other people's advice and suggestions based on their own filters of the world and their own beliefs and their own experiences, and you took it on as your own, but it might not have benefited you. So just something to look for here, because it could be an example of enmeshment within the family, which might not always be functional.
I think we should move in together.
Oh, Kyle.
I can't marry you.
Well, I'm not surprised. I don't think anyone was really surprised. I think we saw very early on that she just wasn't 100% committed. She wasn't 100% interested. I think that she does care about him on some level, but it's not to the point where she's ready to marry him. Also, the fact that she still is thinking about Shane and has feelings for him, that's something that takes time to process and to get over, because she's probably also beating herself up for not telling Shane that he's her number one, or fighting for him. So she's also probably internally struggling with that. And we saw that Kyle just kept fighting for her and trying to make it work. He completely ignored all of the signs of her just not being 100% into him or 100% committed. Even now, having just met her family and talking about how religion is really important, he still thinks that there's going to be a wedding and that they need to move in together and they need to take the next step. And he's just not really listening to what she's trying to give off. Until now, she's saying, I don't want to marry you. But before, there was clear signs from body language, like her mom said, and also just the uncertainty that she was giving off of, like, I don't really know if I want to get married and religion is really important to me. He just completely ignored all those signs. So I'm hoping that this is not a huge shock to him, the fact that she says it's not going to work out, because I think we all saw that like a mile away. And it can also be really hard because in the moment for him, maybe he really loves her and he really cares about her and he was really trying to be optimistic, and maybe he's thinking that, oh, if we get to this next step, maybe I can try to convince her and fight for her, as opposed to really paying attention to the reality of the situation.
You don't think it's a huge killer?
And it's okay if it's a deal breaker. It's totally fine if it is.
I thought we were past that. I thought we talked about it.
When?
I thought we both...
Maybe they did talk about it and they just didn't show us those conversations. But from what the show did show us, they didn't really talk about it. And they didn't even spend much time in Mexico because she left him. And even the night that she left him, she left early. So they didn't have much time to talk about it in depth and how important it was, and maybe she didn't express it to him. I think he mentioned in a previous episode that his mom is really religious and he's not religious. And maybe he's had examples before that, people can be in a happy relationship if they have two different religions or two different beliefs. And maybe for Shaina, she hasn't seen that. So in her mind, it doesn't work. So that could also be a possibility as well.
You should have brought it up more then.
We really didn't have a lot of opportunities to do that.
Well, you kind of did.
In the past. Again, you're right.
You should have never said yes to me. Seriously.
You're 100% right.
And you know what? It just feels like you've been lying to me the whole time.
I was not lying.
So it's normal that Kyle will feel that he was lied to, or maybe that he was led on. It's also possible that Shaina did feel conflicted, and maybe she did try to find a way to make it work and to overlook the religion, and maybe she didn't realize how important it was to her. But for Kyle and someone in Kyle's position, it's normal for them to feel that they were lied to because it's what makes the most sense. Again, human beings are complex. They can have multiple types of feelings at the same time, and it could be perfectly valid. So it is possible that she did care about him. She did think about wanting to marry him, and maybe a part of her did. And she was also not sure about the whole religion thing. But when we're in that state of hurt, it's easier for us to deal with it by just making a blanket statement and saying, oh, you lied to me. You actually didn't care about me. And that can help, I guess, to some extent for us to maybe get over the person, but it can also really harm us because now it can create a lot of trust issues in future relationships, right? Where we start to wonder, does this person actually mean what they're saying or mean what they're feeling? So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but it doesn't mean that she was lying to him. Human beings are really complex. Sometimes they do things that don't make any sense, or sometimes they go into situations knowing it's not going to end well and they still do it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she was lying to him. I mean, of course, on the other hand, it could mean that.
It sucks.
I know. I'm sorry.
But I think she was conflicted and she just didn't really know what to do. And I think she was taken by surprise. And again, maybe she said yes because she felt pressured, or maybe she felt like that was her only opportunity to be engaged and get married. So there's a lot of things that could have been going on. I don't think she woke up in the morning thinking, ha ha ha, I'm going to screw Kyle over and say yes to his engagement, even though I didn't mean it, just so I could stay on the show. I believe that's a very slim chance. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more analysis videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and feel free to check out my other therapist reviews videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, be kind and love yourself.